everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex, and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today's Keith Giffen Day, so we're taking a look at Ambush Bug, issue number 2, cover dated July 1985. Fortunately, I don't own issue 1 yet. At some point, I will get it and review it, but we will have to start with issue number 2. Also, I've skipped over a huge period of his career in the early 80s where he was working on the Legion of Superheroes. Heard a lot of good things about that series. I just don't own any issues of that. I'll be looking to correct that in the future, and again, go back and review those once I do actually own them. So, last stuff we looked at the Defenders comics from the late 70s. Keith Giffen was definitely doing kind of a Kirby riff, kind of a Kirby clone style, which I talked about. With Ambush Bug, I feel he kind of comes into his own with his, I guess what I would call his own individual basic style, which again will change a lot and he will modify throughout his career for different reasons. But I think we're getting kind of the gist of the basic Keith Giffen style here. Definitely on this cover, we've still got kind of Kirby-esque aspects, like, you know, the giant monster here attacking the city that kind of reminds me of the old Atlas comics and the composition of the page. But as for the aesthetic, it's quite different. He's still using kind of bold lines and not so much hatching. But I definitely feel like it's more his own style than specifically, you know, something he's copying from Jack Kirby. Even though there's a different inker on this, Oxner, I feel like he's been pretty close to what Giffen is laying down in the pencils. And I like some of the cartooning on this cover. This cop here, slightly maybe reminiscent of a Kirby police officer. This one in the car here turned around almost to me looks like old 1940s kind of newspaper cartoons or, you know, like a Dick Tracy almost influence. But yeah, you're going to get bolder, thicker lines, not too much hatching, and I would just say clear and concise storytelling. He's been known to, you know, integrate other artist styles into his own a little too closely, like with the Kirby stuff. And this issue, there are certain elements that I'll point out that I think he's taken from, or I know he's taken from, and he's been criticized for this, from an Argentinian artist working on a kind of film noir crime drama series called Alex Sinner. The artist's name is Munoz, and Frank Miller has been kind of accused of stealing some stuff from that series as well, as far as the contrasting look in the art, right? Lots of black and lots of white. Not so much maybe with Keith Giffen, but Keith Giffen kind of takes, you know, his stylistic approach to background characters in this book here, and I'll point them out when we see them. So let's crack her open and have a look inside. So right away, this first shot of just kind of bystanders on the street, you'll see just these oddly shaped heads, at least with these two characters here. And I'll show you more of that as we go along and pointed out that I definitely think he's taken from that Alex Sinner series and how he's using kind of odd shaped heads to create these characters and different caricatures of people, right? And even this shot right here, funny enough, as even though not the whole comic does it, this one here definitely feels again like a Munoz kind of shot. Even like the Munoz would do things like add a little texture to skin as if people have freckles or scars or, you know, acne scars and stuff. The main character, Alex Sinner, kind of looks like he had a, you know, a bad bout with acne as a teenager. And I feel like this angle and the way he's drawn this lady here is straight from that comic. This is a parody comic as well. Lots of humor, right? Keith Giffen is known for that. So I'll try to point out some stuff that's funny along the way, as well as talk about the art. If you know anything about DC continuity, this is right before Crisis on Infinite Earths. So we've still got multiple Earths in DC continuity, and that's basically what's referred to here in this this little bit of dialogue from this character and what's on the radio. So Superman defeated the fifth dimensional imp known as, I've always said, Mr. McZickleplit. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. There's official pronunciation here, but I feel like it's changed over the years. Yet again today, this time by painting the imp's name on the front of an ambulance. So I'm not quite sure how that would help him have the imp actually say his name, because if you know anything about Mr. McZickleplit, that's how Superman is able to trick him to send him back to his own dimension. So just for shits and giggles, pronounced Mixyzpitalik, which I've heard that before, right? And then the second version, Muxistpolk. So I don't know why McZickeplitz has always been how I've said it, even though it's not exactly, you know, the letters that are present in the name there, but I'm going to go with that for this one here. So more examples back here of great kind of, I guess, distorted cartooning, and definitely that Munoz influence once again, using odd shaped faces for characters in the background. we're introduced to Ambush Bug here, who's wearing a disguise to go out because he does have kind of an odd looking face. I feel like this is maybe kind of a reference to Keith Giffen himself. I've seen pictures, you know, I don't know what his look was like in the mid 80s, but he definitely always had the glasses and the mustache, and the hair is kind of similar to what I've seen in pictures. So I feel like that might be a self-reference there. I like this hand here. There's something kind of cartoony and McFarlane about it. But yeah, the basic gist of the story is this character comes to find him to explain that his boss kind of created a formula that he tested on himself and became a giant koala, and that's who's going to be attacking the city. That's about as much as you need to know. And he's kind of coming to ambush Bug, who says he is a detective, to help him out in that situation. So he's knocking on the door here. No one's answering because, of course, as you can see here, Ambush Bug with his shower cap is in the shower. This is a Keith Giffen thing, I think. I don't know if he got it from anyone else, but I remember seeing a lot of this kind of stuff, you know, arrows pointing with words inside, pointing to specific things in the storyline or in a panel. I remember seeing that in the Lobo stuff that he's written, and also in Trencher. So I guess this is maybe the first time he kind of used it here, unless I'm mistaken, he did it before in Legion of Superheroes. Pretty decent amount of panels per page too. Storytelling, very clear, concise, easy to read. And once again, we're getting examples, I feel like, of the Munoz kind of cartooning school with characters' faces. This one here, okay? And so basically, this guy who asks for Ambush Bug's help kind of goes over the basic storyline here, where the scientists created this formula here. They were working with koala bears, extracting their life fluids to... basically, they're trying to, it says here, to distill the very essence of cuteness. Again, it's a humor comic, so you're going to get some weird stuff. So he tried it on himself, and all of a sudden the character appears with a koala nose here. And slowly but surely, as we find out, he's going to, you see here, shift right into being an actual koala and grow to giant size, right? Here's another thing. The way he inks this face here with the dark shadow coming down from the brow, I definitely feel is a Keith Giffen trope that he uses all throughout his career. I've seen this in Trencher. I've seen this in Lobo Infanticide. A lot of stuff that he's done in the past. He does it here quite a lot all throughout. And that's something that I do feel, again, that he's stolen from Munoz and the Alex Sinner series. So boom, now we're introduced to the actual koala. It just so happens that he crashes through Ambush Bug's apartment and steps on, possibly kills this character here. You see his mangled hand here, which again, I like, very cartoony. And again, maybe not in the aesthetic of it, but in the composition of the hand, just there's something a little bit McFarlane-y about that. Don't know if McFarlane ever looked at Keith Giffen stuff and, you know, maybe got some inspiration from it there. But it's a comic that, again, because of the humor aspect, moves a lot. You got a lot of different, you know, pages with lots of panels. Got a big splash page here. And the design and the layout and stuff just really keeps it interesting, I think. And here, you know, another humor bit where Ambush Bug has decided what to wear on his way out. So Keith Giffen uses this as an opportunity to, you know, try out 3 possible different costumes for Ambush Bug. I'm not quite sure why he chose these. You know, number 2 is kind of like the tennis player. Something a little bit Ditko about this shot to me. This design is Lucky the Leprechaun. And third prize here is Rod Serling. So I'm assuming he's kind of going with... if I'm not mistaken, Rod Serling is the guy who introduced at the beginning of the episodes of The Twilight Zone, right? He was kind of introducing everything. The Ambush Bug Guide to Collecting Comics all of a sudden. So it's not an ad. It's actually part of the comic here. I didn't read everything here, but some of them are pretty funny. After you've read your comics, don't throw them away. That makes sense. I like this one. What? You haven't washed your hands? Get into that bathroom and don't ever let me catch you touching your comics without washing first. I slaved to make you a good storyline, and what thanks do I get? You don't appreciate it. Where have those hands been? Do you hear me? I'm talking to you. And just a lot of weird, funny rules all the way throughout. So this character is kind of introduced as the arbiter of continuity in the DC universe, as you can tell from the dialogue. So in her thought balloons, I'm sick of checking for a yellow oval around the bat. I'm sick of measuring the atom. I'm sick of stories titled Crisis on Infinite Earths 1, 2, or 3. I'm sick of being on the phone with Roy all the time. So almost like a placeholder for the editor at DC Comics, right? And again, you know, not much of a Kirby influence through most of this comic in the aesthetic, but I do feel like this close-up panel here has, or definitely borrows a little bit from Kirby. And, you know, the character doesn't look quite the same as when she was introduced on that first page and had more of that Munoz look to her. Pretty cool splash page of a giant koala attacking the city. It makes me laugh. And of course, even though he's huge and destructive, people think he's cute, right? That's kind of the ongoing joke throughout this whole thing. Also, I don't know if, you know, anyone knows this out there, but apparently most, if not all, koalas in Australia have herpes. So it's not as cuddly as it looks. It's not an animal you want to cuddle up to unless you want to have that virus with you for the rest of your life. So there it is, the continuity cop she turns into with the DC logo. And again, another example of Keith Giffen going full cartoon, I guess, with her look. Kind of a minor character here throughout, just for laughs, and gets kind of snorted on, I guess, by the koala and pushed down. And all of a sudden, the koala, you know, this, again, the batshit crazy kind of aspect of this comic, the koala is playing golf with her. And we've got a golf announcer who's, you know, when the segmented lines show up with the dialogue, you're meant to bring it down and be whispery because it's like a golf game, right? And we have Julius Schwartz, the DC Comics editor at the time. Excuse me, I'm Julius Schwartz, the editor. Can I just offer a little input here? Keith, Bob, the guys making the book, you guys want to get paid? Get back to the story. So there's a few times where we kind of veer off into this golf kind of joke parody thing from the actual storyline going on. Then I see a panel like this, and like, again, the aesthetic is completely different, but I definitely see where later on, you know, I guess this is 1985, so maybe 8-9 years later when he's doing Trencher, this is definitely a Trencher type composition. The aesthetic is completely different, right, if you know Trencher, but I definitely see a lot of the layouts and compositions being similar, right? You know, I could feasibly believe back then that the same artist who was doing this is the guy who was doing Trencher, even though the style itself, the aesthetic is completely different. So Ambush Bug obviously gets involved, and there's a funny little part here that I like. I like the shot of the koala with the heavy shadows there, kind of make him look a little more menacing. And then yoo-hoo, we've got Ambush Bug kind of dressed up as a lady. So I feel like they're kind of playing on that King Kong thing. You know, King Kong going after the pretty lady and carrying her in his hand, which is kind of what's going on here. So this is definitely a clever page from the point of view of an artist, because he's been swallowed by the koala here and having a conversation with two other characters that were swallowed prior to this. And really, you know, this is the kind of page, once you've laid out your panels and once you've drawn these eyes here, Ambush Bug and the other two characters, you know, this page maybe took 10, maybe 15 minutes to do. Quick way to get in and out of this one, and make sure you hit your deadlines. Conveniently, Ambush Bug, I'm not quite sure what his power set is, but seems to have the ability to teleport here and kind of pops out of the stomach. He's been given the information that the antidote is, at least the recipe for it, is still found in the offices of the scientist who became the koala. So Ambush Bug goes through a sequence where he kind of creates the recipe and gets ready to confront the koala once again. I thought this was special, kind of fun here. Special, The Legion of Superheroes, #1, 1985. I feel like this is Keith Giffen art, and it's definitely his, again, style of humor that we get in this ad. So a memorandum from the sales department at DC. You really expect us to get people to pay for this? So poking fun at the title itself and the fact that these are substitute superheroes, right? So not the C-list, the D-list, maybe even the E-list characters from the Legion. Back to the story here. We've got some more Munoz kind of background characters and inking here. I thought this was funny, so I was looking at this like, what is that? So basically, it's the most absurd alcohol-dipped cotton swab. So he throws it here, right, on of course, the koala's arm, because that's usually where you swab before you're going to prick someone with a needle, right? So we've got the golf joke coming back again here. And of course, Julius Schwartz off panel, getting pissed off at the fact that the story's veered into golf once again. Let's get back to it. So a lot of fourth wall breaking in here, kind of maybe a precursor to some of the stuff that would be done in Deadpool later on, right? Like this shot here, looking down at the koala with the ambush bug kind of riding the syringe here like a rocket. And, you know, instead of actually showing the prick from the needle, just kind of a sound effect and some stars. You kind of get that, right? We've seen that kind of visual language before. And some more interesting, again, background characters, very much in that Munoz vein. You can see the cartooning, very exaggerated. And once again, using that below the brow kind of shading that will become kind of Keith Giffen's staple. Here's another shot of a Munoz-inspired character for sure. And just some interesting visual language here where, you know, you get the character in negative space, the hands are out, you know, foreshortened, but then, you know, I guess the dynamic lines or the, you know, expression lines you would use are being kind of just subverting the contour of Ambush Bug's face and actually becoming the contour. I think is a kind of nice touch there. Oh, kind of showed you the reveal there, but yeah, he's at the fast food restaurant, orders some food, and boom, I was pleasantly surprised because I haven't read this issue prior before looking through it before the review. Back in the day, I remember seeing this panel somewhere in a Wizard magazine or something, but yeah, just this, very pleased to see Darkseid. I feel like Keith Giffen probably is one of those, the only guys who could do Darkseid justice, even though this isn't a parody comic and he's serving food in a McDonald's. I don't know if this is kind of a commentary on the last New Gods book that Jack Kirby did. Was it The Hunger Dogs or something like that? Where, you know, everything had become computerized and digitized and, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Franchised out. So I feel like Keith Giffen's kind of making a comment on that. And I think his Darkseid with this current style that he's got looks pretty damn cool here. Not everyone succeeds in drawing Darkseid as cool as Jack Kirby, or that I feel is as cool as Jack Kirby, and I think he's doing a pretty darn good job of it. So I'd like seeing the splash, and I kind of now look forward to seeing issue number 3, because I assume Darkseid's going to be a pretty big part of it, or at least I hope he is. And we didn't have the credits at the beginning, so we'll go through them really quick here. Keith Giffen, plot and pencils, so he's not actually doing the dialogue. Robert Loren Fleming is doing the balloons, it says here, so the dialogue. Bob Oxner is doing the inks, Tony Tolan the colors, and John Costanza doing the letters. So there you go, guys. That is my review of Ambush Bug number 2 by Keith Giffen. If you're still watching and you're still subscribed, thank you so much. I really do appreciate your support. If you're watching but you're not subscribed, please do so below. It really helps the channel out, helps us grow, it helps get us out there to other people who are into comics just like we are. We're just on the cusp of hitting that first milestone of 500 subs. So if you know anyone who'd be interested in the channel, please let them know and ask them to subscribe. That'll really help us out and allow YouTube now to help us out as well and get us out there a little bit more and help us a little bit with the algorithm and help us hopefully grow and get out there to the masses. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching, and have yourselves an awesome day.
Like, subscribe, like, subscribe.
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.